Now, this is something I've got many requests to read, mainly for myself, but we're gonna do it anyway. So yeah, here's this bad KRAFTWERK fanfiction that I wrote back in 2013. It's really bad, and it just involves Carl and Wolfgang eating a sandwich. Wolfgang bit into his sandwich. He was sat opposite Carl, who Wolfgang considers his best and only real friend. Feeling left out in the Kling Klang crew was always a problem for him, but Wolfgang didn't mind. Carl had his eyes fixed on Wolfgang, as he kept biting at his chicken sandwich. One of these days, Wolfgang, you're going to have to eat more than just chicken, you know. You can't just live off chicken. And don't think that having the aspects of a robot can't fix that. We're that realistic, we're almost entirely human. Carl placed his elbow on the table and his hand right below his chin. Wolfgang knew that Carl was bored, and it was near impossible to make him, well, not bored.
Oh, I'm sorry, Locutus. At least I can think freely,
Wolfgang exclaimed, grinning at Carl.
Take that back, Wolfgang. You don't even like Star Trek and you're calling me Locutus.
You really should think about comparing me to some imaginary star captain turned machine thing that has no life. Oh wait, I'm describing myself here. I'm sorry, Wolfgang, I'll let you finish your dinner now. Carl, humiliated, pushed himself to his feet and walked out of the dining hall. As much as they were friends, Carl and Wolfgang loved to argue. Wolfgang was the only member of the Kling Klang crew that hadn't yet discovered his robotic side, but he knew he had one. He just knew it. If everyone else embraced the machine side, why couldn't Wolfgang? Maybe the gods thought Wolfgang just wasn't ready yet, but in reality he was far from it. He'd already learned to control the radioactive power of Harrisburg, and had his own model of Taschenrechner. I don't know. However, he rarely used it since nobody wanted to pay any attention to him in battle. Wolfgang thought to himself for a moment. Was he hungry anymore? 3 massive bites of a chicken sandwich was all it took for Wolfgang to finish his dinner. Maybe he just didn't have the appetite today. That must have been the answer for sure. Wolfgang rose to his feet and stumbled down the dining hall corridor. He walked down the main corridor of the school and then took a right. He ended up almost right next to the library where Carl was waiting for him. Carl looked through the glass panes of the door. He could see Wolfgang attempting to open the library door, but without any luck. He was staring directly down at the door handle, which meant that he had missed the person who was holding the door handle on the other side of the door. Florian. Wolfgang tilted his head up to see what could possibly be wrong, and then he saw Florian. Florian held a book in his hand, and the door handle in the other, looking more interested in the book than Wolfgang or the door handle. The book he was reading was a novel called Paul and the Violator, which by the cover looked like it was about the Violator Kings, but they were just a legend, and everyone wrote stories about them. They couldn't possibly exist, Wolfgang thought. And then suddenly, Florian slammed the book closed and faced Wolfgang.
Sorry, Wolfgang. Too busy reading about this guy called Paul. He's apparently some teacher that uses an axe, and he can use the forces of wind. I mean, how mad is that? I've read practically every story that features that Violator King guy. What's his name again? I don't think of it, but everyone just calls him the Violator King.
Wolfgang rolled his eyes. Florian, you just made that up. There is no book called Paul and the Violator. You just made that up because you love the teachers so much. Oh, and by the way, my favourite novel about that Violator King guy? Wolfgang and the idiot who won't open the door. Before Florian could actually open the door, everything went dark. The lights went dark, but without a trace of the bulbs blowing. Electricity seemed to stop flowing, and then it happened. The king had appeared.